Okay, so now we're going to recap the LSU Alabama game, and let's just say it is the opposite of what I said would happen for the Tennessee Georgia game when I said the Tennessee would have to do certain things, and they did not do those things. LSU did exactly what I said they'd have to do to beat Alabama, and they did. And Alabama did the exact opposite of what I said they need to do to win this game. Let's go into specifics. For one, LSU ran the ball really well, specifically with Jaden Daniels. He popped off for a lot of a lot of rushing yards really well. He's deceptively fast, really deceptively fast. Uh, he made plays with his feet and with his arm. He got the ball downfield pretty well, and LSU's defense played lights out. They forced an interception and they almost forced a fumble, but there was a kind of a very questionable call that turned the ball over. They didn't let Bryce Young make too many explosive plays, but he did make explosive plays. It's Bryce Young, and Bryce Young is going to do Bryce Young things. So, yeah, and really, when I said Alabama did the things that I said they didn't need to do, they were penalized multiple times in situations where they didn't need to give up penalties. They had they had a few pass interference penalties that didn't need to happen. They had a roughing the passer call, if I'm not wrong. Uh, they weren't as disciplined as they need to be, which gave up explosive plays and put them in good field position. And also, they relied on Bryce Young to bail them out of a lot of situations. And it wasn't just Bryce Young. Jahmyr Gibbs made some phenomenal plays, but they relied on two guys on offense to try to win the ball game. And honestly, like I said in the Alabama Tennessee game, if Bryce Young's not in that game, it's not close. And I will swear up and down the same reason. Honestly, hot take here, if Bryce Young wasn't on that team, Alabama is a 4-loss team. I think they probably 3. They lose to Texas, and I will say they lose. They could arguably lose to Texas A&M. But yeah, they turned the ball over. Bryce Young was under pressure the whole entire game. Props LSU. They did extremely well on that end. And they played, like I said, they played really good defense. They were quick to the ball. They they were athletes. Like I said in my other video, they had the talent to beat Alabama, and it showed. And now you have LSU has a really, really good chance of winning the East. I mean, not the East, the West. It's just about all but confirmed. I don't think anybody they have on their schedule left can beat them. And this will also is going to be extremely, extremely good for LSU in the future. I think the tide may have switched in the West. I think there may be a power shift. Like I said in another video, Alabama, this is really big on this game because it will show if Alabama's going to be here from here on out. And I'm not sure. I will have to see it next year because I think next year is their do or die moment. If they play like they did this year, next year, the Alabama Crimson Tide dynasty may be over with because they're definitely not going to the national championship this year. It's highly unlikely. It would take a lot of crazy stuff for them to make the playoffs. And to be honest, I'm not sure if they could compete with Georgia or Tennessee again in the playoffs if Tennessee makes it. And this would be great for LSU because they're on their first year in Brian Kelly. They're looking at being being in the SEC championship game, which is crazy. And Jaden Daniels played a phenomenal game. He really did play lights out. If he plays like this again next year, he could be a Heisman contender. And I'm gonna be honest, this LSU team may do better than Tennessee did in year 2 under Brian Kelly than Tennessee did under Josh Heupel. which is crazy to say because even though they lost the Georgia game, Josh Heupel did amazing work with this team, phenomenal work, and it's going to look like it's going to be interesting in years to come because I do think there's a power shift. I think instead of the West being the top dogs in the SEC, I think it is switching to the East, and I do think Alabama is running on its hind legs, running on its last legs, not hind legs, and I think LSU and Ole Miss are going to be the two main powerhouses of the West. And you never know. Auburn could get Deion Sanders, and that could switch things up, which would be insane, by the way. I'm thinking about doing an episode on that, on what ifs. But that about sums up the LSU Alabama game. LSU just played better, and they won the game. They were aggressive at the end, which was a really ballsy move by Brian Kelly going for two. They said all or nothing. And then again, Tennessee did the same thing, and the same results happened. They won. They laid all their chips on the table, and they got it done. And Baton Rouge did a really good job of getting in Alabama's head and causing havoc from the stands. It's a really hostile place to play, and Alabama just hasn't been Alabama this year. It's sad to say it, but that's just facts. I'm hoping they turn up because it's great when all these brand names in the SEC are good, and I'm praying to God that Alabama hasn't fall off. I still want to be competitive games because iron sharpens iron. The more competitive the games, the better teams are going to get. And yeah, that's about all I have to say for this video. Hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you all later.